So you're thinking about Leander versus Cedar Park. Actually, you're thinking about Liberty Hill versus Leander. Or do I got you confused already? Well, let's talk this through. So before we talk this through, I want to let you know my name is Joe Sanches, and I'm a native to the area. Many years here, grew up in the system, school system that is. And you can reach me by phone number 512-663-8867. I'm also a realtor. So in case you have any questions or looking to explore the lay of the land, you have my number. Give me a text or phone call. Either one won't hurt. But let's get into it. So Leander versus Liberty Hill versus Cedar Park. Which one's better? What are the differences? Well, I'll explain to you. So let's start off with Austin being kind of the main thing people look at. When you're looking at, let's move to Austin, you're thinking about Austin, but there's so many surrounding cities that make up Central Texas, 2 counties, there's Travis County, Williamson County. Specifically, what we're gonna be talking about right now is Williamson County and 3 cities, Cedar Park, Leander, and Liberty Hill. So let's take a look at this main highway. It's called 183, Highway 183. There's 2 of them, Highway 183A and Old 183. Same highway. The difference is one has a toll road, which is 183A, and 183, just 183 by itself is the older 183. And it take you to the same places, just run north and south. Again, one's a toll road, one's not. These cities I'm about to talk to you about all are on 183A. Just so you know, 183 is a major highway. It's not huge, meaning like as wide, but it definitely goes north and south very far. And that's adjacent, or excuse me, a parallel to I-35, which is a major highway, huge highway that runs all the way up through Oklahoma City and I think parts of the north of the U.S. So let's get into it. Cedar Park is obviously the closest one to Austin. It's have been growing for many years. The more mature city out of the 3 that I'm about to talk to you about. And let's talk about shopping first because it's one of the major things that people always want to know about. Well, Cedar Park has a Costco, has a Target, and it's going to be getting a Trader Joe's here. I think it's next year. So right now as I'm filming this is December of 2025. I'm not sure if it's in 2026, but there's a Trader Joe's coming on what's called 1431 Farm to Market Road, or also known as Whitestone Boulevard. You can look it up, but here's 183. This is Whitestone Boulevard. It runs east and west, takes you to I-35 into the country. There's a mecca of shopping there. There's TJ Maxx, Ross. There's a Whole Foods, a miniature Whole Foods that actually was originally one of the small formats for Whole Foods that was going to be a 365 Whole Foods where they only sold private label, but they actually expanded it on to selling all the items that you can find at Whole Foods. It's not as big as one of the ones that you would find, say, closer to downtown, but it has all that. So if you're looking for Whole Foods, you can go there. Target, you can go shop there. They have a Costco, you can go shop there. They have a lot of restaurants in Cedar Park, that goes along with shopping. So they have, you name it. They have Serrano's Mexican food. They have another place called the Peach Tortilla. A lot of stuff that you would find in Austin is basically in Cedar Park, and even some of the higher end restaurants like some ramen spots and things of that nature. So in a nutshell, you basically have all the shopping that you would want. It's all in Cedar Park. Okay, let's move on to the Leander shopping. So Leander shopping, a little bit different. So one of the major retailers, of course, here in Texas is H-E-B. Cedar Park has an H-E-B. Leander has an H-E-B. one of the things that you'll notice about HEB is that when they start to expand to cities in the country, they always start with a big mega store, like a super HEB or super Target scenario, right? Well, in Leander, they built many years ago a massive HEB that was to service the Leander area, and it actually started to service some of the people in Liberty Hill and some of the surrounding areas because it was a big one. And for many years, it was only one HEB in Leander, and it's pretty big. Now, that being said, they have just put another one, and it's technically might be in Liberty Hill because they all kind of mesh together. And but there's definitely an HEB there, which is a place to go shopping for your groceries and that kind of thing. They don't have a Whole Foods, they don't have a Costco, and they don't have a Ross or TJ Maxx or any of that stuff. They do have a Kohl's if you're into that kind of thing, and I think that would be the extent of the shopping there. But that being said, most people would come down to Cedar Park to do their shopping for the TJ Maxx's of the world and that kind of thing. All right, so what else? Liberty Hill, well, even less of all that. People would come down to the Costco in Cedar Park, probably the HEB in Leander to do their shopping. And yeah, so further out, less options. Now that's changing though. That's changing. As a matter of fact, I was telling you they put another HEB in the Liberty Hill Leander border area, and now, believe it or not, they just put a brand new Costco in Liberty Hill that's on the border of Leander and Liberty Hill, and it's game changing. I've looked around, so one of the things I'll tell you is this. I used to be in the consumer packaged goods space. I used to sell to retailers nationwide, and I had to do a lot of research on different retailers to understand kind of where they're at. Well, if you research all the Costco's are not everywhere. They're very selective on where they go. It's pretty amazing because not too far from each other, these two Costco's exist. One in Cedar Park that's been out here for a while, and the newest one in Liberty Hill. I believe they're about 10 to 15 minutes apart if you do the math. So very close. You typically don't see Costco's that close. And that new one is happening in Liberty Hill, or it's being built in Liberty Hill. As a matter of fact, I just drove by it the other day, and looked pretty finished to me. And here's the other part. There's a lot of people that go out there and shop at Target. Well, they just put the world's largest, again, I'm going to repeat myself, the world's largest Target right here in Liberty Hill. So that should tell you a lot of what you should know. Historically, it hasn't had all the bells and whistles of shopping, right? But now the growth has fueled a surge of retailers coming online. And so the shopping has started to increase. That's kind of the lay of the land on shopping. Okay, let's talk about space-wise. So if you buy a place in, say, Cedar Park, you're not going to get an acre. That's going to be unheard of. You're going to get just a point something, say 0.25 size lot, a quarter of an acre lot. Maybe they basically have built it all out. There's not a lot of inventory where there's a lot of space. There's more of houses with smaller, backyards and that kind of thing. And then that's what you're going to find typically in Cedar Park. And then as you expand out to, say, Leander has a mix. So you'll have a lot of that because there's a lot of planned communities, right? Master plan communities that they've done the same thing that they've done in Cedar Park. But you're still able to find some areas in Leander where they have acre lots with land. So that's the cool thing, is that you still have that mix in Leander. Obviously, it's gotten more expensive as time goes by, but it's still available. And then Liberty Hill, similar as Leander as far as that master plan communities that they're building, but definitely a lot more options if you want to have more land. You can find acreages, even multiple acres, depending on where you're at on Liberty Hill. So that's as far as space-wise. What else did I have on here? Commute. Okay, so commute. This is important. So these country roads, the infrastructure definitely, okay, put it this way, the infrastructure is not even big enough in Austin to sustain the growth, and Austin's the biggest part of this whole equation. Cedar Park has been at it. They're continuing to build. There's many projects that they're doing. Leander, same deal. They're just right behind Cedar Park and trying to build out this infrastructure so that there's less traffic. Liberty Hill, even less. You're out in the hill country. The roads are actually, I just drove up to Liberty Hill for we had a Christmas party, and I was pretty impressed by the roads. So there's not a bunch of, potholes or whatever that would damage your vehicle, but definitely less road, more traffic. So the commute, the further out you are, the more time you can add. So Cedar Park, you can look it up depending on where you're at, but it used to be 25 minutes to downtown. Could be 30, 35 minutes. Leander, 40, 45 minutes up to an hour commute. And then Liberty Hill, hour 25. Just depends on the time of day and where you're at in Liberty Hill, because some of the roads are even smaller. So if you're on a major road, so like on 183 or whatever, that's going to be obviously a lot smoother commute. But if you're, say, deep on Highway 29, that's going to be more time. So that's the big comparisons, I would say. I know you probably have questions about schooling and that kind of thing. Schools are, just know for Cedar Park and Leander Independent School District reigns supreme, meaning that that's the district there. The schools within the district are going to be somewhat fragmented, but overall, they're basically a lot of new people, a lot of good schools. I mean, there's not a lot of bad happening there, depending on where you're at. And even if it was, say, quote unquote, bad back in the day, it's changing, because we got to remember that so many new people are moving here. There's a new mindset, new people in the PTA driving different things change. So they care about their kids, and so they're being involved in the PTA and all that kind of stuff, and then which is changing the dynamics of those schools, which is very interesting. That's stuff you're not going to find on the internet because, well, I mean, back in the day, people living in the outskirts, you really really country. This is just my opinion, right? Really country, or you moved out there because it's a lot more affordable, and so maybe you didn't have the resources to make the school quote unquote great. But now things are changing as more and more people move here. There's definitely a lot of wealth coming out here, and it's changing because there's a lot more resources available. All right, guys, that's it in a nutshell. If you have any questions or you're looking to shop out here, doesn't matter if you're renting, buying, investing, I do it all. Give me a buzz at 512-663-8867, and I look forward to talking to you. Take care.